Well, good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I'm Steve Gregg, and I'm the current chairman of the board of the Goleta Chamber of Commerce. Thanks, I'm messing that up already. And thanks for coming to our third annual State of the City of Goleta. This is a great event for us. We are really glad you're here. I think most of the people that know me would probably describe me as an optimist. So with that in mind, as I look forward to the summer of 2010, I've kind of started to think and often think of the introduction to the Tale of Two Cities. You all know that. It's the best of times, it's the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the spring of hope and the winter of despair. So I think it goes without saying, and I think most of us know kind of what the worst of times and the winter of despair might be. We're in a condition that we've got double-digit unemployment. We're facing at the state level a $20 billion budget deficit. The governor's public rating is about the same as Gray Davis's when he was recalled, but he can actually take some solace in the fact that his rating is higher than our state legislature. And that is not a comment on the age of wisdom or the age of foolishness. And that's just the state. The conditions at a national level and the conditions internationally, I won't even get into. So I'm sure your next question is, okay, Steve, well, so where is the good side of this? Where's the reason for the optimism? Where is the spring of hope? Well, I'm confident and I'm optimistic that our city leaders will tell us that. So that's kind of their challenge now. But there is reason for optimism. This is a reason for optimism. The fact that we can bring the business community together with this kind of attendance and actually talk about economic development. I believe that the relationship between the chamber and the business community in the city is at an all-time high. I think it's been demonstrated in how the city has been willing to work with and support and come alongside the business community and come alongside the chamber. We appreciate that. So we're excited to hear from them. I know you are as well, so I'm going to kind of move on and let them come up. But before we do that, I want to introduce another reason for optimism. And I'd like to introduce Hardeep Adi, if he is, there he is, perfect. Hardeep is he's a senior at Dos Pueblos High School. He was named the Goleta Teen of the Year in December. This is one of the reasons why I think we as a business community can be optimistic. We have, the youth of our community is stellar. They give us the hope that Dickens was talking about. And I'm going to steal a little bit of thunder maybe. He actually is I just overheard that he has decided to stay in Santa Barbara and attend UCSB next year. So Hardeep is going to lead us in the pledge.
Hi everyone, if you guys could please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Kristen, it is now my pleasure to introduce the president of the Chamber of Commerce, Kristen Amex.
Thank you so much, and it is indeed so great to see everyone here in this great location for a great lunch, and I know it will be a fabulous program. It's a wonderful time for us to look at what the city has accomplished and to look ahead to its future. I'd like to thank the city, its staff, and our chamber staff for their assistance in making this event happen. And I really have to do a special thank you to Valerie Kushneroff, Vice President of the Chamber, who has done a fantastic job organizing this wonderful event. Thank you so much. And Dan Singer said, please thank Courtney Hebert. And at the Chamber, we've worked with Courtney for a number of years when she was an intern with the city. She's now a recent UCSB grad and came back to help with this event. Thank you, Courtney. And of course, it's my job and my privilege to thank our generous sponsors. We have a record 35 sponsors for today's event. These folks came forward to help. These are the businesses who keep our chamber strong and our city vibrant. And I would like to ask that a representative from each business please stand when I call your business name, and we'll applaud after each group of names since you are a nice big group. So of course, a special thank you to our presenting sponsor, Marburg Industries. Our co-sponsors are Cox Communications, the Tobes Group, and Venico. Our corporate sponsors are Allied Waste, ATK Space, Brownstein Hyatt Farber and Schreck, Business First Bank, Cabrillo Business Park, Giordano's, and SBParent.com. Our supporting sponsors are Camino Real Marketplace, Community West Bank, Hayes Commercial Group, Latitude 34 Technologies, Marmalade Cafe, Media 27, Newshawk.com, Penfield and Smith, Santa Barbara Airport, Santa Barbara Bank and Trust, and UCSB. This is a who's who in Goleta, isn't it? We have more table sponsors: Dudek and Associates, the Goleta Valley Cottage Hospital, Montecito Bank and Trust, Pacifica Commercial Realty, Santa Barbara Association of Realtors, Santa Barbara Metropolitan Transit District, and Wilson Printing. We have great media sponsors this year: the Daily Sound and Pacific Coast Business Times. Thank you to them, helping us get the word out. And then I'd like to recognize AMS Entertainment for the sound and light system, the Elks Lodge for the great lunch, Floral Ambiance for these gorgeous flowers, and LA Blue Photography, all of these folks for their participation in today's event. Thank you to them as well. We also have a who's who's list today with our elected officials in attendance, and I would like to recognize them as well, if they would please stand. Doreen Farr from the 3rd District, Supervisor. Janet Wolf, 2nd District Supervisor. Joe Holland, County of Santa Barbara Clerk, Recorder, Assessor, and Registrar of Voters. Of course, our main event today, Goleta Mayor Eric Onen. Mayor Pro Tem Margaret Connell. From the City of Goleta, Michael Bennett, City Council. And Goleta City Council, Ed Easton. From the Goleta Union School District Board, Bill Gadsby. And the Goleta Union School District Board, our own Valerie Kushnerov. From the Santa Barbara School District Board, Susan Deacon. From the Goleta Sanitary District Board, John Carter. Goleta Water District Board, Bill Rosen. Goleta West Sanitary, Dave Bierman. And Goleta West Sanitary, Eva Turenshaw. These are the folks that serve us with pride and dignity, and we thank them for their hard work as well as for being here today. With that, I would like to turn it over to our esteemed city manager, Dan Singer, to begin our today's program. Dan.
Well, thank you all for coming. What a remarkable turnout. I think the first year we were busting at the seams over at the Holiday Inn just 2 years ago at about 200 and few people, and now I understand we're over 250 and almost a capacity in this room, so I don't know where we would go next. Well, they asked me to come and do this presentation, talk a little bit about our economics, and you're going to hear from also our Neighborhood and Redevelopment Services Director next, and then after that, Mayor Onen. And I was thinking the reason they probably put me up here first was something about age before beauty, but then Eric's both older than me and more good-looking, so I'm not sure how that works. In any event, it's a pleasure to be here with you and to to talk a little bit about what the city is experiencing in this tough, very tough and real economic time. Thank you. So first of all, Goleta is really not unique in terms of where our revenue sources are from, and it won't come as any surprise to most of you that the major sources of funding for us are property taxes, sales tax, and our bed tax, or what's called TOT tax. And then, of course, we have licenses and services, charges, planning, permitting, things of that nature, franchise fees, and there's a host of miscellaneous revenues as well. Usually those are made up of much smaller categories, fines, reimbursements, things of that nature. But, like most cities, Goleta's core revenues are made up of really three main sources, the first three that I listed there. And so I've given you this chart. I know it looks a little busy, but and I'm going to come back to it a little later, but there's really just kind of 2 points I want to make here. You see all of the categories historically for us over about the last 5 years in terms of the revenues received. And two things that are worth pointing out here. First of all, that our largest source of revenue, being property taxes, is our most stable one. And that's helpful. I would suspect as a business, if you knew a third of your revenues was coming from a pretty stable source in an unstable time, you would feel good about that. That's something you can essentially count on. The second thing is that you'll see in these last 2 years, almost every single category except property taxes has come down, with the only other exception being that of our licenses and services, because those tend to fluctuate as the magnitude of new projects and building permits come in. So when you take these funds together over these last 5 years, here's really what you see. And it looks a lot more dramatic when it's not stretched out quite as much. And clearly, 2007, like just about every other business and organization in the area, saw its peak in 2007. And since then, as they would say, it's all been downhill. But when you put all that together, what we have that's unique is the opportunity to look forward, because unlike any other city in Santa Barbara County, Goleta has this revenue neutrality agreement with the County of Santa Barbara. It's the tax sharing agreement that was put in place when we were incorporated as a city some 8 years ago. And so as a forecast to that, we have the opportunity after 10 years of incorporation to see a real bump in revenues. And so while we've come down quite a bit and we're seeing, kind of a leveling off these few years, we get to enjoy in 2012 and beyond the bump that's going to occur as part of that 10 years after incorporation, which is only in 2 years, a month, and about 10 days from now, but who's counting? So looked at a slightly different way, you can see here that revenues in the year 2012, right before the bump occurs, are made up of those major categories I've described, and the ones that grow the most are going to be the areas of sales tax and the areas of bed tax. Property taxes will stay the same, but through the revenue neutrality agreement, we'll see an increase in our sales tax, and then we'll be in full receipt of all of our bed tax. And so that's really where that bump is made up of. Seen a different way, I've given you a pie chart here, and the reason this is useful is to compare in that year 2012, or this is actually where we are today, to where we go next. And I'll go back and forth here because you'll see sales tax on the top grows from 22% all the way to 32%. And it actually exceeds property taxes, which today represent almost a third of our revenues, but come the 10th year of incorporation, will drop down as a percentage of the total. And similarly, the transient occupancy bed tax there in the pie on the slice on the bottom will grow to almost 20%. That portion of the pie would even be projected as being larger if we hadn't seen some of the downturn that we've seen. But we also have some approved hotel projects that may eventually get built and will help enlarge that piece of the pie as well. I want to go back, though, and talk real briefly about each revenue source, because as we have to do our budgeting and our forecasting, we're obviously looking at things that we can count on and things that are unique to Goleta, as well as some of the challenges that we face. And so once again, one of the positives here is in our property taxes, not only as our largest source of revenue, but as our most stable one. So we've put up here a comparison of the change. This chart represents essentially the change, the growth rate over the last few years for the city of Goleta, which is the flat red line, and cities like Santa Barbara or even Santa Maria and Lompoc, which are obviously experiencing a more dramatic decline with their property values. As Joe Holland can attest, what a lot of communities are now seeing in these last few years is a real decline in the rate of growth of their property taxes. And in some cases, looking ahead to 2010, they're actually now below the $0 line, meaning that there is negative growth, or they're receiving less than what they received the year before. Given the formula of Prop 13, that's fairly unique, because the base property tax usually goes up by about 2%, and that's something you can generally count on. In this case, you'll see that Goleta is above the zero and is pretty stable. And so we're thankful to have that. And some might say that it's because of the limits of growth in our community and the high land values and the demand that's created, as opposed to other communities that have been able to grow. And there's one other big bright spot for us, and it's our redevelopment area, because the property taxes, what's known as the tax increment we receive there, has gone up really almost double digits for each of the last 5 years. Taken together, if you look back, we've almost seen a doubling, about a 90% growth in our redevelopment agency funding over these past 5 years. This is significant for us because it's going to give us the tools that we need to effectuate affordable housing projects, such as the Sumida project that we partnered with this last year, and to do important capital improvement projects, but also to eventually see some transformation of Old Town. I want to move on to sales tax. Goleta is fortunate in a couple of ways. First of all, that we have a fairly diverse sales tax base, and where we receive it is actually very similar to the state average. On the left there, you have the state's average distribution of sales tax by category, things like transportation, construction, food and general retail goods, and then a very small miscellaneous category. So in many respects, we're very similar to the state averages. We've been a little higher, you can see there, in the area of construction. That's primarily because we have Home Depot and Osh in town, and for our region, there aren't a lot of other options. But the thing that's worth pointing out here is what our per capita sales tax rate is. And you can see at the bottom of the chart that for the average community in California, it's about $110, $111 per person. That's based on this last year. For us, our average per capita sales tax rate is $208. Now currently, we share half of that with the county, but part of that formula will change in 2 years, 1 month, and 10 days. And when it does, we'll see we'll see a 20% bump in our sales tax portion, such that we'll be able to enjoy a healthy sales tax base, one that's significantly higher than the state average. And then finally turning to bed tax, and I realize that this chart probably looks like a diagram for maybe the next roller coaster ride at Magic Mountain or something, but this is the cyclical nature of the bed tax revenues that we receive on a monthly basis. And the positive thing here is that there's a real similarity year over year, and that helps us in our planning. But you can see, again, that lime green color was really the peak. It was the highest, generally, amount we received, again, in the 2007 time period, whereas what we've been seeing in 09, 010 in the dark blue line is significantly lower than what we had previously enjoyed. That's been an area of concern for us. Not a lot that we can do about it, but we're certainly working on supporting our hotels and working with the Chamber and the Convention and Visitors Bureau on things that we can do to help market Goleta just a little better. So let me just summarize and recap a little bit about what we really know today. First of all, 2007 was clearly our peak. I don't think we were unique in that way. It's really been all downhill from there. There haven't been a lot of bright spots. We've been fortunate in the demands we've seen in big boxes for companies like Best Buy to take over where CompUSA left. We have a Ross store coming in where Linens and things closed. And so we don't have high vacancy with our retail sector, and that's a bright spot for us. But really, there hasn't been a lot that's been too encouraging. We have seen stability, as I talked about with our property taxes and to some extent with our sales tax, because some of our sales tax decline has been of more of a one-time nature. You know, overall, things have been tough, just like they have for so many organizations. But the title of my presentation today was about maximizing opportunity. And what we've really been able to do as a community, and I'm grateful both for the leadership on the council and their conservative budgeting and willingness to make some tough decisions, but also for the fact that we are still a very small and lean organization. And so we can move more readily with the challenges that we're faced with. You know, the result for us is that about a year ago, we went to the city council, we saw the writing on the walls, and we asked them to do some downsizing. When we look at our organization in terms of labor hours today versus 2007, we're off by about 17%. So we did the downsizing, we made the tough choices over a year ago because we saw that we needed to adjust. The positive thing is that there's been very little impact to the community. That, you know, the library hours have been trimmed back a few hours a week. Our planning counter hours are a little shorter than they were a few years ago. But we've been really dedicated to maintaining service levels and doing that with our parks and our facilities, our infrastructure. If you drove over Cathedral Oaks on the way over here, you saw our some projects going on in town. And that's really allowed us to be a little more flexible and bendable. The positive thing is that there's opportunity in Goleta. We know that because our planning department is busier than ever. Mayor Anand's going to talk a little bit about some of the projects that have recently been approved and others that are on tap. Now, they're not all getting built, but there is still great land value in Goleta. There's some prime real estate, and the opportunity surrounded by the university and some of the assets of the community to continue to see a healthy environment here is there. And finally, you know, I would just say, clearly, because of revenue neutrality, as lousy as that agreement was, it did provide for some light at the end of the tunnel at a time that has turned out to be pretty dark for us economically. So that's really what I wanted to leave you with. And with that, I want to invite Vito Adamaitis, our Redevelopment Neighborhood Services Director, to come on up and talk about some of our recent economic development initiatives.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me here today and to be able to talk about an important topic, economic development. I don't know if any of you think that that's an important topic to talk about today, given some of the news headlines that you saw. Anybody see the stock market headline this morning? Just a show of hands, should we be talking about economic development? All right, I came to the right meeting today. Let's talk about Goleta first. Goleta is a special place. Although on the world scale, Goleta only represents about 8 square miles and a population of about 30,000 people. But you'd be surprised to know some of the things that we have here in Goleta that are actually recognized on a at a global level. We have businesses in town like Fleur Systems, ATK Space, Raytheon, Wyatt Technology, Bacara Resorts, Carl Stores Imaging, Giordano's. And did I mention we have this university next door called UCSB. World renowned. We have a number of Nobel laureates at UCSB. And what is the common thread in all these organizations and businesses? It's about people. It's people. And we have all these resources, economic, and of all the resources I can think of, the most important resource that we have here locally is our human resources, is our people. People who live, work, and play in this community. And I think that's what makes Goleta a special place. I hope you agree. I think that was a yes. Okay. Why are we embracing economic development? Like I said, anybody see the headlines lately? The national deficit, the state deficit, unemployment, business downsizing. Any of these things affect us here locally? Absolutely. So what are we doing about that? An action, a blueprint for action, the adoption of the city's first effort, Economic Development Strategic Plan, in October of 2009. And you can see, again, the outline of the city of Goleta. What we do here also impacts people around us. And what happens around us affects us here too. You know, you hear about the turmoil economically, globally. You know, trouble in Greece, trouble in Asia, trouble at the federal level, trouble at the state level. We're not immune to that. As part of the development of the Economic Development Strategic Plan, we worked with a number of stakeholders, our residents, our businesses, the chamber, UCSB. We got some feedback from some of these folks, and they said, you know, you guys in government need to be watching what's going on around you. You need to be responsive. You need to be proactive. And most importantly, you need to be listening to the community. So we have some strategies that we came up with. For example, like many cities, the city of Goleta has adopted an economic development plan. These plans are an important tool to support and sustain the delicate relationships between the public and private sectors for the benefit of the community. When responding to business needs, it is critical that government be able to respond in a timely manner and be adaptive to changing economic conditions. Let me repeat that. When responding to business needs, it is critical that government be able to respond in a timely manner. Does anybody think that's important, especially right now? Economic sustainability is part of any economic development strategic plan, any approach, any strategy. This comes up. What's on here? Sustainable economic growth provides sufficient incomes for the labor force, business opportunities for employers, and stable revenues for maintaining city infrastructure, programs, and services. Economic sustainability is also what simultaneously improves our quality of life and the environment. What are the unique assets of the city? Here in Goleta, we've got an educated workforce. We've got a long history of high-tech industries, medical, biotech, defense, information technology, a wide range of businesses with global recognition, as I mentioned previously. We have a proximity to major destinations, tourism, airport. I mentioned UCSB right next door, the natural beauty, the mountains, the ocean, the beaches. Isn't this a great place to live and work? I feel pretty fortunate when I look around on the weather forecast and I see that some people are still freezing. And we're here today enjoying a beautiful day. You're within minutes of some of the best places to recreate anywhere in town. What are the indicators of a quality of life in Goleta? Natural resources, recreation, public services, public safety and public improvements, capital improvements, our infrastructure, Can you imagine a quality of life in a city or in a community that was not safe? I know you probably don't appreciate seeing a policeman on the street or certainly in your rearview mirror, but there is some comfort in knowing that there are many men and women doing their job on a motorcycle, in a police car, in a fire engine, looking out for your well-being and providing a blanket of security for this community. Let's talk about our Economic Development Strategic Plan. There are two important objectives in this document that I'd like to share with you today. And by the way, our document, the Strat Plan, is on our website. You can peruse it and give me what your thoughts are. If you have any comments, love to hear back from you. And in this slide, there are two important objectives: job creation and job retention. Very important as part of this effort. It's an effort that we have worked very closely with a number of people to come up with. Economic development means lots of things to lots of different places. Economic development in Los Angeles is different than economic development in San Francisco or San Diego. For Goleta and our efforts right now, it's job retention and job creation. We have 7 broad-based goals in this document. Goal number 1, create a diverse employment base and a balanced approach to economic development that focuses on identified industry clusters. Establish a plan to increase tourism activity. Improve access to financial capital and human resources. Establish the city of Goleta as a green tech sustainable community. Increase and expand local partnerships. This is the collaborative effort between those of us in the public sector and those of you in the private sector, and sitting down and listening to your concerns and figuring out ways that we can assist each other in these tough economic times. Continuing to improve and enhance the city's permitting process. A number of folks here today have received a lot of assistance and a lot of hand-holding through the process to see your business expand, to do tenant improvements, to get to the finish line. If you have a business or you're looking to start a new one, you need to be talking to us. We're here to help. Focus economic development, attention on Old Town, and update the Old Town Revitalization Plan. This is a document that was adopted in 1998. There are some good things in the document, and there are things that we identified that we might want to revise and update because the world has slightly changed since 1998. Here are some of the efforts that we're currently undertaking. Storefront improvement grants in Old Town. Anybody own a business in Old Town right here? Okay, we'll be working on you. You want to come talk to us about grants that the city issues, provides for you to do improvements to your storefront. We're not asking you for money. We're trying to provide you assistance. I think that's a good thing. This is a really important one. You know, recently, we've had the opportunity with our full council and our management team to go out into the community and meet some of our local businesses. I recall we went to Karl Storrs Imaging, which is in the same business center that City Hall is located in. And literally right across the parking lot, we walked with our full council. We walked into the lobby of Karl Storrs Imaging, a German company right here in Goleta that makes these incredible cameras used in surgeries. And no, Karl Storrs wasn't worried that all these city people were showing up at their door and some guy named Vito trying to help them. But we got a full tour of their facility, and we remarked among all of us how incredible that experience was and how we heard back from that business, how important it was for them to see people coming out to hear and listen to what they produce, local Goletans working in this firm, And I think this is part of our economic approach, is going out in the community and making that connection with all of you. I think that's important. We've initiated a parking study for Old Town. We're working on a potential hotel and conference center study. We're pursuing grant funding for energy efficiency, transportation, and environmental protections. We also have on our website tools for business success. For businesses that are looking for information, online resources on our city website, you can go there. There's no charge for the service. I urge you and encourage you to use those services that are available to you. In closing, I really want to communicate to all of you that the city is committed to the collaborative implementation of the city's economic development strategic plan with all of our community partners as we seek to do our part to contribute to the economic recovery of our region. This concludes my presentation, and I want to thank all of you for letting me come here and speak about economic development. Thank you very much. With that, I get the special opportunity to welcome our next speaker, Mayor Eric Onen.
All right. Again, thank you all for being here, and I want to thank everyone here for giving me this opportunity to speak at this event, and of course, for the opportunity to be the mayor of the city of Goleta for a whole year. Wow. Imagine that. I bet everyone here would like to do that job. And I got to tell you, it's the best job in town. Let's talk about what's happening with the city of Goleta. I'm a little disappointed because Dan and Vito stole my pieces. Really, what I'm probably most familiar with is the numbers, and that's what I like to look at. But today they reversed it and said I had to do this other part, and this is the fun part, they said. So we're going to look at the good work that we've done in the city of Goleta for this last year. And starting off about, even in these times, even in the challenging times that we have where we see a reduction in revenue from the city, a city's perspective, the city of Goleta has still delivered what it was intended to deliver. In business, we evaluate ourselves via our competition, and is it the one thing that we do 10%, 20%, 50%, or 100% better than our competitor that sets us apart? Or is it the 50 things that we do 5%, 10%, or 30% better than our competitors? Really, it's about that total value package. It's about how much benefit we can bring to our customers that sets us apart, and that's what the city is doing. In these times, some of the larger initiatives may not be readily available, but each and every day, the city is reaching out and looking for opportunities to bring value to the community, to improve our lives inch by inch, step by step, little by little, that incremental process that we go through. So what we try to do is augment the good, improve the good, and diminish the bad. And we're going to look at some of the things that we've been working on for this last year. Courtney? Public safety. We've added a couple neighborhood watch programs. I think we have 14 active within the community today. We're going to have a couple more come on this year. We have bike patrol on the bluffs out there in the Elwood area. Also bike patrols in Old Town, which have been something people have looked for. Reduce crime statistics. I think this is an interesting one because we look at ratings and they say how many crimes per 100,000 residents. And the city of Goleta shines with a number of 180. Around us, Santa Barbara's at about 516 and Santa Maria over 700. Carpinteria is a little over 200. So we are doing a real good job on the public safety component. And we have a contract with the Sheriff Department that allows us to be scalable, we can adjust, and flexible, so we can respond to the specific needs of our community very timely. And that's been demonstrated over the last year. couple of things we've added here. You've probably all seen those flashing speed signs and how amazingly effective they are. That's something that I've learned about. We've got the Safe Routes to School and school safety programs, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in some videos coming forward.
In the past year, we've done numerous crosswalk enforcement details where we have a pedestrian walk across the street in the crosswalks. We use either the unmarked crosswalks or marked crosswalks. And what we're looking for is cars that don't stop for pedestrians. And in doing this, we also calculate based on the speed limits of the roadway, the distance for a stopping distance basically for cars. And then from there we can determine if a car should have been able to stop or not. And we've been doing this program here in the past year so that we can educate drivers, get them more familiar with looking for pedestrians when they're driving down the street and looking for other objects, such as when other cars are stopped for pedestrians, kind of scanning ahead and wondering why cars are stopped as opposed to just driving around the stopped vehicles.
Well, this particular crosswalk that we're standing at is on the corner of Padova and Salisbury, and it used to be a four-way crosswalk, but two ways used to be yields. And this past year, with the help of City of Goleta and Marty Schultz and Steve Wagner, we've made two of the crosswalks an actual stop sign, which has helped the kids cross much more safely. And it's a lot better, and the City of Goleta has done an outstanding job.
Some of the basic things, parks, we were able to put some improvements in Bella Vista Park and make that a more enjoyable location for the people in that area. New bus shelters in Old Town. We have a few of those. And it's a lot of fun to go out there and see the folks who are actually using that and appreciating it. And this one here actually has a solar panel on it that allows it to be energy self-sufficient. Capital improvements. Those of you who travel Los Caneros know that there was a landscaping project that was finished the end of last year, and we dedicated that. That was done with a $700,000 grant, so we were able to improve that area. We received over $1.3 million in ARA funding, stimulus funding, that paved or topped or repaired about 5.8 miles of roadway in our city to put that to work. At the same time, we did another 5 miles through normal city funding. Here's a big project hopefully most of you have seen, the Cathedral Oaks Overcrossing. And we'll have one of the folks here from the city explain this to you more thoroughly via the video.
The Cathedral Oaks Overcrossing project is a very exciting project. Folks have been waiting for it for a long time. It's the result of a successful partnership between Caltrans and the City of Goleta. We're changing this three-way intersection to a four-way intersection, put a new overcrossing straight across the highway over the railroad to create a new three-way intersection with Hollister Avenue. One of the best parts about this, in addition to improving traffic circulation, it's going to provide a safe and pleasant experience for bicyclists and pedestrians, something they don't have on the existing Winchester overcrossing. The existing overcrossing was constructed with reactive aggregate back in the 60s, and it isn't going to stay up forever anyway. So after we get this bridge built, we're going to go ahead and demolish the other one. It's really nice to have an existing bridge that can remain in place during construction and minimize the disruption to folks.
All right, we've got some projects that are moving forward. ATK Space, Cottage Hospital, we're going to show you a video from them. We obviously have the Cabrillo Business Park on the commercial side that is waiting to emerge.
We started planning the new hospital about 5 years ago, and our very first meeting was with Steve Chase at the City of Goleta to help him understand the requirement to build a new hospital. And at that meeting, he told us that we would be a priority for the city. Hospital, very important to a new city, and it has been a fabulous working relationship for the last 5 years. City staff have been wonderful to work with. The elected officials, whether it's the Planning Commission, particularly the Design Review Board members, have gone out of their way to make sure that we have what we need, that they haven't delayed the project. They've learned the difference between what the state has to approve and how the city reacts with us, and it's been a great collaboration. The city has continued to make this a priority, and we're very excited to be building this new hospital for the city of Goleta and beyond.
New sign approvals. Yes, we did approve some signs in the last year. I know anybody who was trying to get a sign approval wonders if that really happened, but it does. We're seeing those come through, and we're continuing to work on that process. We have a sign ordinance that'll be coming forward in the next year or so that'll help in that. Go ahead. Tenant improvements. That's where a lot of activity has been going on in our community, maybe not as much as it sometimes, but we have some real success stories to point to where some of the local businesses have done improvements, repositioning a storefront for Best Buy in the Camino Real marketplace, and then the addition of Holdren's and Pasta Vino out there as well.
I've lived here since 1962. My partners have lived here. My son obviously has lived here since he was born, and my other two partners have been here a long, long time. And we feel that having a Holdren's in Goleta is a great thing. We've been a part of the Goleta Valley for a long time and very involved. Had this opportunity to lease the space, and that's why we're here. Went to the building department, submitted our drawings. Really simple. They're very cooperative. As a matter of fact, I know several of the city council people, and they were excited about Holdren's coming to Goleta. A lot of people are excited about Holdren's coming to Goleta. I don't have anything but positive things to say. And so our doors are open, and we're really happy that we're here, and our business is building. And the whole process was much smoother than the restaurant we opened 2 years ago in Thousand Oaks. That was much more contentious. And we were really trying to accomplish the same thing. So.
Thank you, Ed. All right, City Online. A city today, of course, has to do a very good job with communicating with its citizens and its community. And we launched a new website in the last year. New look, more functionality, more comprehensive, has a variety of options that allow the community to stay engaged. And believe me, you need to stay engaged. We have to keep an eye on what's going on with the city, but also look at those things that will directly affect us. Few of the things listed here: streaming online videos, view our ordinances, and sign up for the Goleta City Alert, which we have an automated system that helps us out with that. But that's all available to us online now, which has been a huge improvement in our communications capability for the city. General plan. We concluded the major work of that within the last year. And for those of you who have been engaged in the process know that that was a long, tough process for us as a community. And what we accomplished out of it, I think, will have lasting benefits in that we made some adjustments to the plan and yet retained all the protections that are so much of concern for our community. We were able to do that to allow actually the creation of those beneficial projects, allow some adjustability. New growth management approach. Many of you have been aware of the Goleta Growth Management Ordinance and how that functioned in our community. And we came to terms with the reality that it didn't function as this community needed it. It wasn't responsive. In fact, even Cottage Hospital, we had to amend the ordinance in order to allow that that project to go forward. So we've looked at a new way, a better way, which we think fits our community. We've added into that plan the requirements and obligations associated with greenhouse gases and climate change. And we're looking that it will hopefully increase the production or allow the creation of actual affordable housing units in a reasonable fashion. Our economic strategic plan, which Vito stole my thunder on, there are some small business tools set up in the back that's available online at our website as well. The important things in this, the Old Town Parking Study will allow the city to determine if parking is a key element. Should the city go out and try to locate, acquire, or somehow control parking that would be beneficial to this eventual redevelopment that will occur, or the continued redevelopment that will occur in the Old Town area. And as Vito mentioned, the storefront improvements.
The grant program's been a really helpful tool to us to revitalize the properties that we have in the Old Town corridor. We've been very excited about what they're looking to do for the whole downtown Goleta area, and they've allowed us to do the work you see behind me, which has been phenomenal compared to what this building looked like before to what it looks like now. It's a good start for the community. The results have been positive, very positive. What people have said as far as what the location looks like, they say that it's about time that we do something about this area, and anything that we can do to improve the looks of this whole area is very much appreciated by the community and the people that do business here. The city's been real helpful with all this. The paperwork and the process we've been very pleased with what they've been able to accomplish, and their commitment to getting this process done well has been right over the top. We're very, very pleased with what we've been able to accomplish.
Where are we headed? We've accomplished a few things in this last year. Where are we headed? Well, really more of the same. We need to find a sustainable path forward, and it'll be incremental because of the revenue challenges that we face as a city and the changes that are going on in our community. So let's look at a few of the opportunities that are going to present themselves. Goleta Prepare Now, which is a way for our community to become prepared when that local disaster happens. The saying is when, not if. And this has been generously funded by a foundation grant of approximately $300,000. This will deliver benefits to us as a community when they're most needed in a time of crisis, with our citizens being more prepared. We saw a library funding video, and we have a committee working on this now, and it's a committee that includes the county, people from the county of Santa Barbara, the people from the library districts, the city of Santa Barbara, and of course from Goleta and the Friends of Goleta. We're going to find a way to solidify the funding to the Goleta Library so that it can continue.
The library is a huge asset for the Goleta community.
Here we go.
It's busy 7 days a week with families, children, seniors, all kinds of visitors. Even in these challenging economic times, the library is very much a part of this community. And the city of Goleta wants to ensure that it remains a vital part of the community in the future. We have a partnership with Santa Barbara County and the Goleta Friends of the Library and City of Santa Barbara to look at future funding sources for the library to ensure that we can keep it open 7 days a week, if possible, as we have in the past, and so that we can also continue to bring new computers, add to the book collection, and improve the facility in general. The Goleta Library has been able to maintain its full staffing and normal 7-day-a-week schedule for the current fiscal year and next fiscal year because of a generous donation from the Friends of the Library, who have been very supportive. The Friends have been very key in making sure that our branch meets the needs of the community, so has the staff from the City of Santa Barbara. We really appreciate their efforts, and we're looking forward to working together with them as well as the County of Santa Barbara on the possible future revenue sources, including a ballot measure that may, if passed, provide extra funding through property tax assessments to keep the branch open and keep it a vital part of Goleta.
Thank you, Michelle. Other activities. Fighting for local redevelopment funds. Of course, hopefully you've heard about the fact that the state has decided to use those funds to cure the current financial challenges, which of course will bring more challenges to our redevelopment area. New things coming, stormwater discharge. We've gone through a series of public meetings to get input on that, to understand how this new stormwater plan will affect our community. Our zoning ordinance, green building ordinance, sign ordinance, those are all things that will be coming through. So we'll have an opportunity at each one of those to make that incremental improvement as to what how our city is functioning. Facilities reserve is an interesting one. The council directed staff to really look at the facilities owned by the cities and find out how much deferred maintenance we have there, how much of real maintenance we have, so we can better plan how to maintain those facilities for the community. We're looking at a conference study that hasn't been awarded yet, but we're going to see, can this community support something like that? And always, and the council is very mindful of the fact that as this community builds out, fleshes out the margins, there are going to be opportunities for parks, and they'll come and they'll go and they'll be gone. So the council has to know what those opportunities are and continually be vigilant in exploring them should we have an opportunity to expand park facilities. And of course, the RNA negotiations, revenue neutrality. You heard our city manager speak to that. That is moving forward slowly, inch by inch, step by step, and we hope to be actually in conversations with the county sometime in July of this year. We got some residential development and some other development in the community. Let's move on to the next slide. We have a hotel property that is just recently, this is a rendition, I believe, of the Marriott project, and that has been approved by our design review board. We'll go through the next steps. Of course, we're working closely with UCSB and their long-range development plan to know how those impacts will come to our community, the benefits and challenges from both sides of that. Some of the other things that we're working on, we received an energy efficiency grant that we were able to share with the Goleta Union School District and implement within the city and that was actually a grant funding. I think it was about a $160,000 grant that we were able to leverage and use within our community. We're working right now on a new solid waste franchise agreement, and you would not believe how exciting trash is. It really is an interesting opportunity for our community to consolidate or to improve our solid waste and to improve what is delivered. It's important because if we do this right, we can reduce these things that go to our landfill, we can recycle better, we can just be more responsible. This is an opportunity presenting itself now that we get to shape the next 10, 15 years of those services. Well abandonment, out on Elwood, within our preserve, there's abandoned wells there, and they are going to finally be properly abandoned, which will make it safer, more enjoyable for the folks who use that area. We are also working on a green parks program, and I think we have a nice little video here from Steve.
The city has a long tradition of environmental protection. When we first became a city, we were the first agency to adopt a pesticide-free parks maintenance program. Since then, we're now moving towards a 100% green maintenance program for all our parks and open spaces. So instead of just prohibiting pesticides and fertilizers in our parks, we will now prohibit commercial fertilizers, we'll use organic fertilizers, and we're going to incorporate all sorts of other best management practices for green maintenance activities. So what this means for park users is you don't have to worry about anything about what we're applying to the turf or to the plants. It's a very safe environment. It's a non-toxic environment. And I believe we'll be the first city to actually do this 100% green program in the area, and we're very proud of that.
All right, Goleta's future. Well, it's easy to say that it's bright. We are well positioned. We have an organization that is dynamic and scalable. For many governments, this current challenge is really a reset. We have an advantage. We never got set. And so what that does, this organization, as our manager has told you, has been able to adjust to the demands and to the economic climate. And it's doing it again. It's still doing it. We're led by a group of department heads and our city manager that have put us in an extraordinary position. Listen, other communities are talking about significant changes in the way they do business. And we're talking about a 3% variable in our budget for this year. Likely just where we're going to commit some reserves and where we're not. And that we're going to retain a position that allows us, if this downturn continues a little longer, to weather that without depleting our reserves necessarily, but ready to respond as soon as the economy does. I guess this is the benefit of being a new city. But it's there, it's dynamic. The folks who are involved with it are not only willing, but actively positioning this city for that opportunity. And so we'll come out of this very well and ready to respond. Do we have, we didn't have any of the development, we're talking about housing development or anything like that on the slide. Just so you understand, we do have a lot of activity coming in the door, getting prepared for the when we're able to move forward. I think we have a few different, we have a 99-unit assisted living project that's in process. I think we have another 100 units in Willow Springs too that will be apartment type products. We have a revamp of the village at Los Coneros going through process that will probably be 450 units of a variety of housing types on that site off Los Coneros. And then we have a West Star project coming up on Hollister, mixed use, 300 units of housing and some commercial space. So it's all poised to deliver some of the needs and benefits to our community. Obviously, we need the economy to spur the turnaround, but I think the city's well positioned. And we got to thank our staff and the council folks who've put us in this position, because it does have a bright opportunity for us. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks, Mayor, Vito, and Dan. I guess you made it pretty clear. The best of times are clearly here in Goleta. The worst of times is everywhere else. So we're glad we're here. Thank you all for attending the third annual State of the City. It says in my notes that there are comment cards on the table. Is that a true statement? Great. That's always good. We'd really like you to fill those out. This is our third time doing this. We think we've improved every time. We want to continue to do that. The other part of this, we've taped this entire production, and it's going to be shown on Cox Channel 8 over the weekend. The times are listed in the back of your program. So with that, let me close with another quote, given that this is an election year. This one's from George Bernard Shaw. And he says that democracy is a device that ensures that we shall be governed no better than we deserve. So with that, get engaged in the election, continue to support your city and your Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for coming.